Somewhere out there, a donor gave your charity money last year because they believed in what you do. And then, for months, they heard nothing, until an appeal arrived asking them to give again. This is the quiet way small charities lose the very supporters they worked so hard to win. The fix is one of the most powerful things you can do, and one of the most neglected, which is to show people what their money actually achieved. That is what an impact report is for. Done well, it turns a one-time giver into a lifelong one. Because a donor who can see the good their gift did is a donor who gives again, and gladly. This video is about writing an impact report that supporters actually read, rather than the fat annual brick that goes straight in the recycling. It is shorter, warmer, and far more effective than you think. Why the annual report brick goes unread? Let us start by burying a bad habit. Many charities pour weeks into a long, dense annual report, full of committee names, financial tables, and page after page of worthy prose, and then wonder why no supporter ever mentions it. The honest answer is that almost no one reads it. A busy donor is not going to work through 40 pages to find out whether their gift mattered. You may need a formal report for regulators, funders, or your board, and that is fine. But do not confuse that document with the one you send to your everyday supporters. Those are two different jobs. Your supporters need something short, human, and visual, something they can take in over a cup of tea and come away from feeling glad they gave. So set the brick aside for the audience that truly requires it. And for everyone else, build something they will actually open, actually read, and actually enjoy. Lead with outcomes, not activities. Here is the single biggest shift, and it changes everything about how your report reads. Lead with outcomes, not activities. An activity is a thing you did. An outcome is the change that resulted. Most charity reports are stuffed with activities. We held 12 workshops, we distributed 500 parcels, we ran 3 events, and while you are rightly proud of all that effort, a supporter does not give to fund your activity. They give to change lives, so tell them about the change. Take that dry line, we ran 12 workshops for job seekers this year. On its own, it tells the donor nothing about whether anything actually got better. Now turn it into an outcome. Over the past year, 12 workshops helped 43 local people rewrite their CVs and practice interviews. And by spring, 19 of them had found work. Same workshops, but now the reader can see the point of them. Always push past what you did to what it changed, because the change is the only thing your supporter truly paid for. One hero story and a few clear numbers. Numbers alone go cold, and stories alone feel thin. So the most powerful impact report marries the two. Choose one hero story, a single real person whose life your charity changed this year, and tell it simply and warmly, so the reader feels the human truth behind all your work. Then surround that one story with a small handful of clear numbers that show it was not a one-off, that this good happened again and again across the year. Not a wall of statistics, just 3 or 4 figures that matter, large enough to feel and few enough to remember. The story makes the reader care, and the numbers make them trust that their gift is part of something real and repeated. One face and a few strong figures will stay with the supporter long after a page of dense data has been forgotten. Resist the urge to prove everything at once. Show them one life clearly, back it with a little solid evidence, and stop. A reader who finishes your report remembering one name and one number has understood your whole year far better than one who skimmed past a dozen charts and kept nothing at all. Show the before and after. Change is invisible unless you show both ends of it. So wherever you can, paint the before and the after. A supporter cannot feel the difference you made if they only see where someone ended up, because they never saw where that person started. So draw the contrast plainly. Here is the family before, sleeping in one cold room with no idea where to turn. Here is the same family now, in a home of their own, the children back in school. Here is the stretch of river choked with litter in the spring. And here it is, clean and full of life, by the autumn. A photograph of each, side by side, does this in an instant, but even in words the shape is the same. This was the situation, your gift arrived, and this is how it looks now. The gap between the two pictures is precisely the thing the donor bought. So make that gap easy to see, and let it speak for itself. Be honest about the hard parts. There is a temptation, in a report designed to please donors, to make everything sound like an unbroken triumph. But a little honesty will earn you far more trust than a glossy tale of total victory. Nobody quite believes the charity where everything always goes perfectly. So be truthful about the hard parts. Mention the challenge you did not fully crack, the demand you could not meet, the thing you are still working on. Say plainly that the need is greater than your resources, if that is the case, because it usually is. This candor does two things. It makes your successes believable, since a reader who sees you admit a shortfall trusts your victories are real. And it gently makes the case for why their continued support still matters, because the job is not finished. Honesty is not a weakness in an impact report. It is the very thing that makes a thoughtful donor lean in and decide to stay with you for the long haul. Make the donor the cause. Never forget whose report this really is. It is tempting to write the whole thing as a story about how wonderful your charity is, but the supporter reading it does not want to admire you. They want to know that they made a difference. So make the donor the cause of every good thing you describe. Thread the word you and your gift through the report, and say it plainly. This happened because you gave. Because of supporters like you, 43 people got back on their feet. Your kindness put a roof over that family's head. And say thank you warmly, clearly, and more than once, because a donor who feels genuinely thanked and genuinely responsible for the good is a donor who gives again without being begged. An impact report is not really a summary of your year. It is a love letter to the people who made your year possible, so write it as one and let them feel the weight of what their generosity did. Formats a tiny team can manage. None of this requires a design agency or a big team, and it should not swallow your whole month. So match the format to the hands you actually have. A single well-made page can be a complete impact report. One story, a few numbers, a before and after photo, and a heartfelt thank you, saved as a simple PDF you can email or print. Or skip the document altogether and write it as a warm email, which many supporters will read more readily than any attachment. Or break the whole thing into a short series of social posts, one for the story, one for the numbers, one for the thank you, spread across a couple of weeks. The same handful of material, the one story and the few figures, can be poured into whichever of these shapes fits your time and your supporters. Do not let the dream of a glossy booklet stop you from sending the simple, honest, one-page truth that a busy volunteer can actually finish. Where and when to send it. A report that never reaches anyone changes nothing. So think as carefully about delivery as about the writing. Send it to the people who earned it, your donors, your volunteers, your members, the supporters whose belief made the year possible, using whatever direct line you have to them. An email list above all. Time it well. A natural moment is soon after your financial year ends, but honestly, any regular rhythm beats a long silence, so even a short update every few months keeps the warmth alive between the bigger reports. And here is the quiet secret of the whole exercise. This is your best possible groundwork for your next appeal. A supporter who has just been shown, warmly and honestly, exactly what their last gift achieved is a supporter far more ready to give again when you next ask. One honest note before we recap. This channel is educational only and not legal, tax, or fundraising compliance advice, and it is not affiliated with any platform or program. Handle your supporters' personal information with care. Only tell people's stories with their clear permission, and verify any reporting rules that apply to you against the official current source. Quick recap, let us bring it together. Set aside the long annual break for the regulators and the board, and build something short, human, and visual for everyone else. Lead with outcomes, not activities, so the reader sees the change and not just the effort. Anchor it in one hero story surrounded by a few clear numbers. Show the before and the after, so the difference you made is impossible to miss. Be honest about the hard parts, because candor is what makes the rest believable. Make the donor the cause of every good thing, and thank them like you mean it. Choose the simple format your team can actually manage, and send it well-timed to the people who made it all possible. An impact report is not an administrative chore to be dreaded and dashed off at year-end. It is one of the kindest and most effective things a small charity ever does. A way of closing the loop with the people who trusted you and of turning a single gift into a lasting relationship. You cannot promise yourself that everyone who reads it will give again, and you should never pretend that they will, but show your supporters the real good their generosity did, honestly and warmly, and you give them every reason to stay. If this way of thinking is useful to you, subscribe for more practical charity marketing you can actually use, and take a look at the companion written guide linked below where I lay these steps out in more detail. I will keep turning them into calm, doable steps, one video at a time.